first met Uncle John and Aunt Louisa at our wedding. Susan and I got married, and the lieutenants had come and participate as part of our wedding service as the sword arch. When it came time for them to get their rooms, and they went to the desk, the clerk told them that they were already taken care of. And as we kind of looked at each other, we came to find out that Uncle John and Aunt Louisa had, as a symbol of their gratitude for service, had taken care of the rooms. It was only later that I learned that Uncle John had served in the United States Navy during World War II, and then was subsequently commissioned at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in the Army, and then went on for service during the Navy. And so it was reflecting back, and even as I maintain contact with those lieutenants of our wedding, the one thing that still comes up from time to time is the generosity and selflessness that they showed at the wedding, and how much it meant to them and still means to us. As I mentioned, as the time that we were able to come down and see you and Uncle John, and as he shared stories of whether it was RPI or history or of family, it meant a great deal from us. And even though we didn't know you, we knew you because we heard so much about you, and we learned so much from you as we talked about the joint service ball that we had attended. Out came the dance book, where I guess many of you have seen, where we got to see who his dance partner was. And with those visits came the demonstration of trust, and how much that meant, and how as a young man not able to reach the pedals, the beloved golf cart was already charged and ready for action, and began initially with Britt sitting on Uncle John's lap, and touring the neighborhood and hearing stories of family, to the point that then it transitioned to Uncle John in the passenger seat and Britt touring the neighborhood, and still hearing stories of family, and how much that meant to us, because he trusted him probably more than we did to get behind the wheel at an early age. And then the relationship that we developed through, again, family and family values and military service and the discussion of history. And I'm sure each of you probably received a book or two from the reading list. You can appreciate how much that means to us. But most important was the legacy that he demonstrated. And that while he accomplished a great deal, the thing that you continue to talk most about and be most proud of was his relationship with Aunt Louisa and his children and grandchildren, of which he was most proud. So that it didn't matter what was above all that on the resume. The thing that was most important was family, and Louisa, as I mentioned, the love and admiration that we've had the ability to witness has been an inspiration to Susan, Britt, and I.
When I came into the family, I was never handsome enough to be an engineer. Started off. That's how I started. The first morning I woke up in the Reagan household with arm on the record. But it was, I listened in the background and I heard somebody speaking in Spanish really fast. And I had taken 8 years of Spanish. Did I not come back from Mexico City? Opened the door, looked in the kitchen, and Louisa was talking to her mother. So I got to know the family well. Al and I talked about my son-in-laws, how welcome we felt part of the family. Always vying to be the favorite son-in-law. We feel like we're even because we're so blessed by John. John blessed our life. And I thought Graduates are called to be faith in action, and most to be men and women for others. There's no man who was more than a man for others than John Reagan. He led a life that exemplified men for others, words and action. And there's other friends of mine that follow that Jesuit mantra of men and women for others. And there's 4 things that you need. And I said, what are those things about John that I see? By definition, it means they're selfless. John's needs always took a backseat for everybody else. He always looked at what he could do for others. Always. Second, your life is an expression of humility. Always deferring credit. Humility, humbleness, and being frugal for things John was about. You don't need to look any further than their car that Laura drove the other day, and she goes, Dad, this is like 12 years old and it's got 3,000 miles on it. I mean, you don't get every car you want to try to say, hey, it works. And when he upgraded, he went from a white one to a blue one for Louisa. Louisa's wearing blue now. Third, and all of us have seen this in John, it means taking action. John's life was one of purpose and intent. He always had a purpose and intent. He was well planned. He was well versed. He was always a man in action. Early on, I'm sure we all have stories. We bought our house in Cincinnati. And I came home from work one day, and 2 of my friends with me from work. There was John in the garage putting up pegboard. He cleaned it, he painted it, he made sure it was done correctly. And he goes, what kind of father-in-law do you have? And then when Carol was pregnant, when Carol she like thought marrying a Spanish girl, they had this hairy woman who like gave children. Carol not so much, but she had morning sickness. And John was painting. He was pouting in the basement. He was repainting all the ductwork, but he was always a man in action. Fourth, and I think this is important, consistent application, meaning you are unwavering in doing the right thing. John was a man of integrity. There was no gray area in John's life. It was black or white. You do it the right way, or you don't do it at all. And that's whether in your task, your integrity, your job, how you make decisions, your faithfulness. John was always in it. Chris spoke about John's early life, and when he went in. The story of John going into the service was at 16 years old. The war was going on. John felt that he needed to be there. At 16 years old, that's not what I was thinking about. But John accelerated his pathway. He finished all his classes before there were AP classes. He took them in the summer. He read history books, and he just graduated early. The spot he wanted, he couldn't get in because the Navy would take him, so he went in at 17. And John did all his activities. He moved forward, and this is where the story gets murky because in the history books they write it a little different. John was going across the Pacific Ocean when the war ended, and we always read it ended a certain way. John always told his grandchildren, guys, the reason the war ended is because as I was going across the sea, the Japanese found out I was coming, and they threw up the white flag and said, I'm done. And Ryan goes, Dad, when we got to 3rd grade, that's not the way it ended. The story of John and his sense of humor, that's something that we always got to see, and he always told pranks as well. John had an incredible work ethic, and he's very proud of his career. One of the things about a man of discipline, when you get back to the house, you're going to see his obituary. Well, he wrote it. So he was all well planned. I just had to fill in the dates and change some things. And I had to update it because he only had 1 great-grandchild when he read the draft, so he went to 2 great-grandchildren. Everybody has heard the Marcus Hook story in Philadelphia. I could tell it from beginning to end myself now. At Thanksgiving, Carol and I were very blessed over Thanksgiving to be in Sun City for the week with John and Louisa. It was a great week for us, but John, Carol, and Louisa went out to get the Thanksgiving meal, and John started talking about Marcus Hook again. And John, I think John needed more testosterone around because he was surrounded by women. And we've got some Richard and Lynn have been great friends. So Richard was his go-to guy and the guy that he could go for companionship. And Lynn and Richard have helped our family so much over the last couple of years. We're very grateful for both of you. But John went on for 4.5 hours about Marcus Hubbard, about his adventures, and it went on and on and on. It was just, I just felt so fortunate to hear, because you talk about listening to the wisdom of your elders. John was somebody who would be very clear on what he thought, how he felt about things, and go on. So a couple of days later, John and I, Louisa celebrated her 90th birthday, and John and I went out in his sports car. And in the console of the sports car, he gets in. I said, John, there's something for you to drink. It was ice cream sherry. And he goes, I said, we call that a road pop, John. He said, John drank his cream sherry. He goes, you're a good boy. So way back, at 92 years old, still fearful of what Louisa may think. He goes, make sure you get rid of that before you get in it. Richard's had to hide the same thing as well. But John had an incredible work ethic. At BP, he was the go-to guy. You hear things he did to Toledo, the Cleveland refinery, Marcus Hook, all around the country. He left BP with 6 patents. I kind of crossed paths with what John was doing towards the end, because he built a building. He was ready to retire early at 56 years old. But when he came in, they said, oh, you've got to go talk to John White, who was the CEO of BP. And he went upstairs and he said, John, we got one more project. You've got to build the corporate headquarters of BP before you leave. He had to do it. So, and he was called to service, and he did what he was supposed to do. And it wasn't exactly something John wanted to do. He wanted to get out of the Cleveland Winters, but he was a man. He finished his tour of duty with BP and did a great job. He was very proud. I think relating to his family, John was a wonderful provider. He opened doors and life opportunities. He thought it was very important that all of his kids and his grandchildren get college education. He made that possible. Idleness was not something, Louisa, you probably ever saw of John. When they arrived in Sun City Center, they built a brand new house. They had a new house, and Louisa got there, and Louisa went to become the mayor of Sun City. She got to know everybody. She played tennis every day. And John proceeded to rebuild the house from the inside out. He built fireplaces. He took me in the attic, and I wasn't smart enough to be an engineer, handsome enough, but he wanted to go show the attic everywhere he ran. He rerouted the wiring that he didn't like the way it was done. He built bookshelves in the walls. And everything was redone, and every time we showed up, something else was rebuilt in their brand new house. But that's just who John was. He put the same pegboard system in. Everything was organized. Everything had a place. And he once showed up in my basement. Things weren't right in order. A week later, they were in order because John rebuilt in my basement. So I think we've seen that, and that's the John we grew to know and love. He passed along his faith and his belief, and that education was a game changer. And he always spoke glowingly about every one of his children, about all of his grandchildren, and he couldn't. And probably everybody in the neighborhood got to say, "Oh, look what happened! Look what happened!" He was so proud of everything that they did. But I say for the last thing, the most important thing in John Reagan's life, of all his life events, all his vocational accomplishments, his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren. He spoke most strikingly about one decision that changed the trajectory of his life. He never wavered from that. And we got to see it all through the years. I read a lot of religion stuff, but I never heard of St. Vera before. He talked about St. Vera. St. Vera was the girlfriend of one of his college classmates, and they needed some girls to go to the ROTC dance. And Louisa was introduced to John, and that was a life changer for John. And John always spoke. If there's ever a reflection of a man who should treat his wife, it's the way John treated you and spoke about you, Louisa. He's told us that the most important decision he ever made in his life, over everything he ever did, was to marry you, Louisa. The decision he made to marry you was the best. He spoke glowingly about Louisa. Louisa was amazing. Louisa was smart. Louisa was beautiful. Louisa was engaging. Louisa was fun. And the part of John where he was an introvert and engineer, Louisa opened up this social world to him that he didn't have. So John was willing to run the pranks. He was ready to get the drink sherry and the bourbon and run the party. But Louisa, you opened up the world to John. And you changed his life forever. They hosted their New Year's Eve parties. One of the first ones, Carol was pregnant with morning sickness, so we had the other room. They traveled the world together because they had 30 wonderful years in one city. Laura posted on her Instagram after John had passed, gone to the Holy Roman Catholic heaven. She goes, her pop called Louisa his bride every day. And he loved Louisa. He was so warm and loving with you. And that is something, and Carol reminded me from time to time. So all I can say, Louisa, is you and John have been wonderful role models for us. John is a great role model for the life of integrity he led. He was a wonderful man. He was a wonderful father, grandfather. He was always there for all of us whenever we needed something. And the two of you have led a beautiful life, and we're very grateful for that. So thank you very much. We love you and we love John dearly, and we will miss him, but we are so proud of everything he was.
Thank you for being here and remember all those things. Remember all those things.
I always like to ask, is there anybody else like to get up and speak?
Hard to beat that one.
So it's gonna be impossible, but, this does conclude the service here at Sarasota National Cemetery. I do wanna point out that our flag is flying at half staff right now, and it is flying at half staff for him, for his dedication to his country, and also to, the United States Army. We thank him for that, and we thank you as a family for that. Thank you. Thank you. You may go whenever you feel you're ready. Very much.
Yeah.